Welcome to the ElderAbyss show. For talking videos, it's the place to go. Game tips, rants, tactics, and more. What you'll find here, you can never be sure.
Hey guys, welcome to the show. In this episode, we're doing some Gears of War 3 beta, and this is kind of a special match. It was the final match that I was able to play in the beta, along about Saturday night, early Sunday morning, right before it shut down, about 1:30 in the morning. Finally had to turn it in and get a few hours sleep before I had to get up and go to work, right? Although I really didn't want to. If it was at all possible, I probably would have called in the next day, but I couldn't do that. So this ended up being the last one, and it was a good match, had a lot of fun. And I don't know what was going on if you guys were playing that Sunday, but the connections were spectacular. I don't know if they done something or if I just got lucky and ended up playing on servers or what, but man, was it great. And it's a shame that it played so good on the last few hours that we got to play. My only hope that I take away from that is that may be something similar to what we see on release day. Cross your fingers, sacrifice a goat, do something, because that would be so sweet. Because Gears, like many other multiplayer games, seems to have problems at release with matchmaking and connections, and you know, I've said this before with other games. It's just something that we're used to, unfortunately. It creeps its ugly head up on a lot of major AAA multiplayer games. And it could just be the sheer, you know, how do you prepare in advance for something like that on the infrastructure, the back end? I mean, that's a challenge. I understand that. So hopefully we won't see too many growing pains on release day and that first week or two. I hope this beta experience really helps square some of that away. So, like I said, this is my final experience. The final countdown. Probably get a copyright hit for that, but I couldn't help myself. I'll stop with that. Yeah, this was the final match, man, and I had such a good time with it. It was hard to walk away. Of course, we're playing a little death match. It's me and 3 of my regular crew and 1 subscriber in here. Couch Tomato, I think's his name. It'll pop up here in a minute. We'll take a look at it. But yeah, he was one of the guys that got a beta code from me, and we ended up hooking up with him for a few games that night. It was a good time. Tried to play. Several of the guys that we got beta codes to. I tried to play with as many of them as I could. We got a few games in with probably half a dozen of them here and there, so that worked out really good. And while I'm talking about that, man, kudos to the crew, and I had a handful of subscribers that threw in some codes too, man. And we got, I don't know, I brokered close to 30 codes to some guys that probably wouldn't have got to try this out otherwise. So, you know, kudos to you guys, man. That was awesome. I was tickled, very tickled with the response with that. It was great. I liked it. So as I keep rambling on, you've probably noticed that we are about to squander away somehow or another the nice little padded lead we had on this first round. Not sure what happened there. I know somebody said something back when it was like 7 respawns to 1 respawn. I think it was Couch that muttered something along the lines of, "Oh, I think we got this." And the rest of us said, "No, don't say that." And this is a perfect example of what happens when you kick back and say, "Oh, we got this." Don't do that, man. Don't do that. Not until the last guy's down and ready to be executed. Because with Gears, nothing is for sure. Nothing. You really got to watch your toes. So I got little man horsing around here, so if y'all hear some odd noises or something, that's what's going on. Most of you regulars are probably used to that by now, but so let's just go ahead and get that out there, because he inevitably gets in on the commentary section of these things. So let's go ahead and tail off, man. What I wanted to cover in this episode was some of the I just want to talk about the beta, just kind of give my beta report, really. I wanted to talk about some of the things I liked, some of the things I didn't like, some of the items that haven't helped me I feel like need addressing. There's a handful of things that really need to be taken back to the designer table and kicked around with some ideas about, you know, it's a good chance this might need worked on, fellas. Let's get some ideas together on ways to bring it into correct balance, or give it just the added little polish that it needs to make it perfect, man, because it's really close. And that was, sidebar here, that was the fatal flaw of Gears 2. The game was so close to being perfection, but it fell so short with the connection issues. That was the bane of that game. I swear, if that game had good connection, reliable connections, that's probably all I would have been playing up until this point. Loved it, but like I said, the connection issues were the bane. Just awful in that game at times. But while we're talking about that note, let's talk about the connections with what we experienced throughout the beta here. First off, the dedicated servers, you know, spectacular. Wow, cannot praise those enough. The only problem I had with the dedicated servers is they didn't seem to be available for the games that I was playing most of the time. A lot of my experience in the beta was on peer-to-peer, and I understand why. You know, I'm guessing that they intentionally didn't set up the infrastructure at the level to cover 100% of the games. I think near the end they started cranking that up to give everybody a sweet taste in their mouth right before it stopped, which was a good idea. So it was a really good idea to go ahead and do that. But through most of it, a lot of it was peer-to-peer. And like I said, I understand that, because, you know, that connection system, that setup, it needed to be beta tested too. They needed to get some good statistics and some good models of how that code was holding up and how all that was panning out. So on the peer-to-peer matches, really the only thing, you know, the freshest thing in your mind to compare it to is Gears 2. As I don't know what the hell I was doing right there, but compared to Gears 2, it's a major leap forward. We had, you know, I played some matches that were, the lag was apparent. I didn't play any matches where my character was rubber banding, though. I didn't play any where he was skipping around, or it was just so flat out bad. I mean, just bad. Well, I take that back. There was one match, and I think that's related to another topic I want to cover in the kind of the peer-to-peer connection setup talk that we're having here. I think the region filters, if you will, need to be adjusted, because there was a great number of times that in our when we were riding on peer-to-peer and it was, you know, matching us with hosts and games and doing its thing with the matchmaking, that we would end up with Mexican hosts. And nothing against Mexican hosts, but most of us, you know, the crew and I, are in Middle America. If you're, you know, looking at it latitude-wise, I guess is the right word. There's longitude. But anyway, right across the belt, for the most part. You know, we're back and forth a little bit, but you give us a Mexican connection, and you know, it's fairly laggy, and so. And I know good and well that it could have matched us better. I'm not sure the trade-off they're making there. If they're making a trade-off for how long you sit in the lobby waiting for a match as compared to the matches it'll actually consider putting you in. But you know, you're waiting in the Wallaby quite a while now. So, I mean, I can understand that might be a coin toss there with that. But it would be really nice if that kind of thing didn't happen, particularly in like a ranked match, because it's pretty frustrating at times. So, well, I've been rambled on, man. We're burning through the video here, and there's so much I wanted to cover. So let's just hit the highlights, and I'll talk a little bit about the things that motivate me to ramble on, I reckon. First up, man, when you fire the game up, the UI is greeting you. The UI is pretty good. It's a major leap forward than previous UIs in the Gears. So they've done a good job on the user interface. They've still got a few bugs there with the blurry screens and stuff, but if you would go into your stats and back, it would clear that up. The one addition I would like to see is easier access to player stats. I mean, right now you can do it in the after game scoreboard, but you know, that was one thing I really liked about Black Ops and their UI, is when the lobby was loading up, I mean, you could hit one button and see a quick stat breakdown of everybody in the lobby. I mean, I thought that was excellent. Would love to see something similar to that kind of thing in Gears, you know, which, you know, I thought they'd done really good with that lobby kind of leaderboard thing, I guess it was. I'm not sure what it was, but you just hit the one button, brought up everybody in the lobby, a quick breakdown of their stats. That's great. I would love to see that in Gears here. The other thing I would really like to see on the user interface is some kind of icon that gave you an indication of the type of connection you were playing on. You know, on the scoreboard, they could just drop a little something that is only there when you're playing on dedicated servers. I would love to see something like that, because I mean, if you guys played, you know, I mean, it's the feeling of not knowing, and it helps if you know you're on a dedicated server. Without a doubt, it just helps. Would love to see that little icon thrown in there. So but that's about it for the user interface and stuff. I mean, there's some tweaks that could be made, but those couple items right there, man, would be spectacular additions. Now, as far as well, let's hit the weapons real quick, because the weapons are going to be a hot button item, and I want to get those covered. Most of the weapons feel really good. They feel really good. The Lancer was a little weak feeling at first, but they gave it a across the board buff about halfway through, and I think that buff they made to it really brought that weapon into perspective of the game, and was really digging. As you can see, I'm using it here in this match. Really enjoyed the Lancer once they gave it that little bit of buff. That brought it back into the realm of possibilities to actually use, because before it was weak sauce, man. And it doesn't take much of a weapon buff with that gun when you're dealing per shot, because it shoots so freaking fast and it has ammo for days. So a little bit was all it needed, and that's what it got, and it feels good now. The hammer burst, they tweaked it just a little bit too. They nerfed the headshot multiplier, and I think that was a good move too, because hammer burst is beast. It is just flat out beast, and by nerfing that headshot multiplier just a little bit, I think that really tamed that weapon down. Now, things that I feel like still need to be addressed for sure: the retro Lancer, that gun is close. That gun is really close. I like that weapon, but it's by far probably the best rifle, by far, except for its only limitation is its range, and that's fine. I got no problem with that. But there's a slight tweak that needs to be done with that gun. Either a very slight nerfing, or even probably a more reliable fix maybe would be to increase the recoil or something like that on hip firing, because, you know, aim down sights, fine, you got me, understandable, but you run up on a dude and he just starts hip firing that gun, you can't compete with it. It's crazy. So a slight adjustment needs to be made to that gun, in my opinion. Now, the really hot button item is the sawed off, and you know, after what, a month or better playing this beta, I got a pretty good opinion of the sawed off. And the way I see it, the gun, as it sits right now, is a problem. It's a problem. And here's why. It's in its current state, I don't think it's overpowered. I got no problem with the gun itself. I think it's overused. Now, well, not easy, but two possible fixes for that. One, make it a map pickup, which I would absolutely love to see. Two, make it a, you know, if you don't make it a map pickup and you keep it as a loadout weapon, tighten up the spread on it a little bit so it's not like a 180-degree dead zone, and don't let it down people. I mean, it's all or it should be an all or nothing weapon. You know, tighten that spread up a little bit and make it an all or nothing, and I think it would be all right as a loadout. Other than that, I would, you know, if you want to keep it in its current state, it really should be a map pickup, because, you know, fighting one or two guys on the other team with it, not that big a deal. But when they get wound up and a little desperate, it's not uncommon to see 4 or 5 of these guys running around with that gun, especially on a map like Trenches, man. That is just sawed off heaven on that map. But, you know, that's my feelings on the sawed off. The other weapon I've got a little opinion on is the snub pistol, the default pistol. Pretty much a useless thing, man. And it'll do a little damage, not much. I think that's a good reason why the shields on Trenches were not employed or used as much as they could have been to dig people's way out of that spawn back there when you got like a spawn trap going on. That pistol could use a little buff. You know, if you had the Gorgon SMG, man, with the shield, oh, dude, you were beast. But, you know, that would be a nice combination, wouldn't it? But the, I don't know, man, the snub pistol could use a little bit of a buff, in my opinion. The rest of the guns I really enjoyed. I had a good time with. The new ones, like the Digger, absolute blast with that gun. There was some nice Digger shots in that round we just watched. But other than that, I'm trying to wrap this up as quick as I can, guys. The maps I felt pretty good about. Trenches, it wouldn't hurt my feelings to see a slight adjustment to Trenches. Maybe some type of back route toward the grenades that could bring you out into the middle somewhere. So just an alternate route out of those spawns to kind of relieve the pressure there a little bit. I think that might be a good move. Don't know if we'll see any major map changes at this point, but, you know, in Warzone or Execution, not a problem. But when you're dealing with Team Deathmatch, that can become a problem. It really can. But let's see. I've got several other items, but I want to wrap this up pretty quick. The other main thing I wanted to touch on was spawns. The spawn, as we experienced them in Team Deathmatch, I didn't like. I think the Team Deathmatch spawns should be mimicking closer the King of the Hill spawns than they do probably what we're going to see, I'm assuming, with Execution and Warzone spawns. I think, because, I mean, there's other spawns. There's at least like 4 in a map. In Team Deathmatch, it's only using the 2 primaries. It doesn't use the secondary spawns. I think for Team Deathmatch, it should look at all 4 spawns, determine which spawn is the furthest away from an active enemy, and spawn you there. I don't like the spawns in Team Deathmatch all that much. For a respawn game, it really should be kicking it around more like it does with King of the Hill. Really should. So that's my major beef with Team Deathmatch. Other than that, really enjoying that edition of that game type, but I can't wait to get my Execution on. Anyhow, guys, I've rambled on for quite a while here. My video's over. I'll have to tack some stuff on the end. I'll dig something interesting up, I'm sure, along the way. You guys have a good one. Enjoy. I know a lot of you guys are going to be asking what videos are coming up next. So the next couple of videos I'll probably be falling back on some of the games I've covered before, getting back to those. Some Bad Company 2, Crisis, things like that. I picked Brink up, and I'm still really on the fence with that game. But anyway, guys, y'all have a good one, and we'll catch you later. Thanks.
In the end, you've already been told. just gamers growing old.